and why
Yeah,
not?
and I do think it's enculturation. I also think there hasn't been very many good female role models in business. I mean, if I'm in a room with women and we say, well, who are your role models growing up in business? They use TV personalities like Mary Tyler Moore. Now our girls, my granddaughter and the young girls, they have tons of role models right now. But if you're in your 40s, 50s, even mid 30s, there just hasn't been a enculturation of women lead companies and women lead countries. Not in the United States. There are other countries that have had way more women in senior leadership roles. And again, it is not an argument, but honestly, it's a reprogramming, like we talked about in the neural pathways. It's a reprogramming of who am I and what am I capable of and what do I want. And, I also read an article that most of the people that are Black that are achieving status in financial or in position are doing it for themselves. And I think we're seeing the same thing with women. If women cannot make it in the corporate world, then they'll triple their income working for themselves. And so George, you're progressive. You also were in Vistage or tech for a number of years. You're a growth mindset guy. You're an innovator. You read every book there is. So you're a sponge. But the average CEO, honestly, is trying to meet their numbers, and they're not necessarily focused on the human side of the business, which is changing.
Yeah. Okay, so now that we did that hard left turn, I'm going to go on a hard right turn because you also triggered me to think of another thing. When you made the comment that all organizations are made up of people, one way or the other, and unfortunately, I would say that's less true today than it was some years ago. And I'm going to give you an example that I cannot, and this is probably going to resonate with you. I think it will resonate with everyone. How many times do you call a company's customer service group and you're going to go to the Philippines or you're going to go to some offshore call center? And I love the Philippine people. I have nothing against the Philippine people. You hear the chickens outside, and the pigs in the backyard while they're talking to you, and then they all have scripts, and their scripts are designed to be as pleasant as possible, but they're not designed to actually meet the needs of the customer. And I find that incredibly frustrating. Because of the internet, many companies have become ever more impersonal and divorced divorced their delivery from human interaction, very much on purpose. And I don't know about you, I find that just horrible and frustrating and working completely against the needs of customers.
Well, that is a loaded statement, George. So first of all, if I'm calling the Philippines, they're still people, they're still human beings. And for whatever reason, the organization has decided they want to outsource. Now, I will tell you that I've had two people outsourced from the same outsourced outfit for airlines, and one does whatever that they need to make sure I'm taken care of, and the other follows the script. So I think wherever you go in any country, any outsourcing, you're still going to get the dynamic of who is intrinsically motivated to do that work and who's looking for the $6 an hour to make their paycheck. And so that's all I can answer for. And I think
That's
you're
fine. I wasn't
talking
just
about really big companies, and the kind of companies I serve, my company serves, is 20 million to 600 million. And I don't care if they use artificial intelligence or if they outsource, fundamentally, it's still an organization based up of people. Now, if they don't care about people, they would never be a client for Keen Alignment. And there are many, I mean, Jeff Bezos, even though he's no longer the CEO of Amazon, came out multiple times and said, I don't care about culture. It is not on my radar. It will never be on my radar. The only thing on my radar is to be the low cost provider. At least he was honest about it.
Right.
There's a lot of people who are not honest about it. All they want to do is grow and sell, and they don't give a rat's butt what happens to anybody else.
Yeah.
And those are just not companies that care about culture.
Makes
But
sense.
wouldn't you want to know that before you applied?
Absolutely. But just to be super clear for you and everyone else that's going to watch this podcast, this was not designed to be a slam on Philippines at all. This was designed to be a slam on management. And it's whoever it is here in the United States that's, or Europe or wherever the company is being managed from, whoever designs systems to insulate the decision makers from the front line, I have no respect for that. Yeah.
Great. So George, that's the opposite of self-actualization. That's architecture is, here's our mission. It's Lencioni's disciplines, right? Here's our mission. Here's our vision. Here's our values. And here's the framework we make decisions. Actually, it's from his book, The Advantage. Here's our strategic framework. Make decisions from here. The problem is when you outsource because you want to pay almost no money to get something done, you're going to get what you pay for. And like a very good friend of mine, and I train the recruiters, they're all in the Philippines. They operate the exact same way as the recruiters from San Jose operate. But there's other companies like Alaska Airlines that in order to keep their airplanes running, they don't care. And they would rather give you a discount to plug in a number and work via text. Now the airlines, if I would be willing, which I'm not, want me to text somebody if my flight gets canceled. Who's going to do that? Who's an executive who has to go somewhere? But it's that decision is made way up here that this is not a priority. Get their money on the front end. If there's a problem, they can deal with it after the fact. But just like we saw in our entire career, things go overseas, they come back. Things get outsourced, they come back. We use technology, they come back. So it just depends on who the company is and how important the customer experience is.
Thank you. So let's get back on track with the, you were going in the direction of mission, vision, values. Let's talk about that for a few minutes.
Okay.
So how important is that? Lencioni would say clarity is number one, actually, is a cohesive management team, but right after that is clarity. So how, in your view, how do those three things play together? Mission, vision, values.
Yeah. So if culture is important, if contribution is important, that's my caveat. If the company wants to make a positive impact and you have to have people on the team in order to do it, then I think mission, vision, values are imperative. It's the architecture that creates the environment, and the environment is how people speak to each other, how they interact with each other, how they get problems solved, how they execute work. So it's the framework for how we get together and work and deliver. It's imperative.